Happy Halloween and welcome to the Martini Shot. My name is Brandon and today I will be reviewing the 2022 horror film Halloween Ends. But before I do that, we need a tall, pale, and handsome drink to pay homage to Michael Myers named The Shape Returns. And hey, if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video if you'd like to help support the channel. My very first Halloween spent with the Martini Shot was ended with a review and cocktail of the original Halloween film. That cocktail was named The Shape, referencing the way Michael Myers was credited in the film, and took on the appearance of the character through its tall, pale complexion and a rim of blood. For the finale of this iteration of the franchise, I wanted to keep with the same motif, but adjust the ingredients slightly. I figured I would do a solid for my lactose intolerant homies out there, and make a version that won't absolutely destroy your stomach with all that milk. We'll be employing coconut milk this time around and swapping the base spirit from bourbon to rum because coconuts and rum just seem to go hand in hand. Essentially what you'll have is a creamy, non-dairy cocktail perfect for those cold October nights, and I'll also show you how you can add a little extra Halloween flair to your drinks this holiday season. Let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start with our base spirit. Like I said, we are not doing the bourbon this time around, but we are going to be doing a rum. I would recommend going for a slightly darker rum, something more on the golden side rather than the white side, mainly just because I find the gold rums to have more of a desserty, vanilla, caramel-y kind of taste, which I think is going to pair really well with that. I'm going to be finishing off my bottle of Plantation 5-year. This is one of my favorite rums, and it's pretty inexpensive. It's usually under 30 bucks. And we're going to do 2 ounces of the rum. Now we're going to put in the majority of the body, which is going to be made up of the coconut milk. You can either use the version in the can or in the carton like I'm doing, and you're going to be doing 3 ounces of the coconut milk. And now the one aspect of the original Shape cocktail that does carry over into here is the split flavoring of the vanilla and the cinnamon. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start with the vanilla syrup, and that's going to be 1/2 ounce. And then likewise, we are also going to do 1/2 ounce of a cinnamon syrup. Let's throw in some ice and shake to chill. All right, so before I strain this, I feel like I should go ahead and explain how I came to this glassware. So as you can see, we have the bloody rim around the edge and this little edible kitchen knife as well. The way I found easiest is taking about a 1/4 cup of corn syrup, adding 2 to 4 drops of red food coloring, throwing that in a microwave for about 15-20 seconds. You want to be careful and monitor it because if it gets too hot, it'll start to bubble and it will pop and make your microwave a mess. I'm talking from experience. But basically, once after you microwave it, let it cool, let it return to room temperature, and then you're going to take a tall glass like this, dip the rim in, and then pull it immediately back out, and then stick it in the fridge so you can slow the blood spills down, but they'll also harden and kind of give this really nice blood drip effect. I would also recommend once you put it in the fridge, put something down underneath it just so you don't get your fridge all sticky as well. Even though I made this glass about a week ago, it's still very sticky to touch and it will kind of taint whatever it's going to touch, so just be mindful of that. But yeah, let's go ahead and strain. All right, and now you can finally top it off with a little dusting of nutmeg. And there you go, now you have The Shape Returns. All right, let's go ahead and give it a taste. Truthfully, even though it's made with coconut milk, it tastes very, very similar to the original Shape. I do think it's a bit lighter. I don't think the rum has as much of a punch through as the bourbon does in the original Shape, but it's still present there. You can definitely taste it. And it mixes so well already with those caramel and vanilla notes that come with the rum itself. Once you pair those alongside the cinnamon and the vanilla, it comes together really, really great. It's definitely desserty, creamy, but definitely the fact that we're using the coconut milk here will probably be a little bit lighter on everyone's stomachs, thankfully. And the bloody rim actually does kind of play a part because it's made with corn syrup and it's a little bit sugary. You do get a little bit of sweetness up there along with that nutmeg on your initial sip. So yeah, this is a great alternative if you don't want to spend your Halloween stuck in the bathroom all night. Now that we have our drink, let's jump straight into the review of Halloween Ends. Well, just under 50 years later, and after 13 films of varying quality, We have reached the end of the Halloween franchise's story, at least this iteration. We all know Hollywood will continue to resuscitate and revive this and other successful film franchises until the sun dies out. Regardless, Halloween Ends is the final film in the most recent Halloween trilogy, started in 2018, bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode to put an end to the terror that is Michael Myers once and for all. The Halloween franchise has seen its fair share of ups and downs over the past few decades, certainly more downs than ups. But the 2018 film, annoyingly the third film in the franchise to just be called Halloween, showed some promise to where the franchise could go in the modern age. Its sequel, Halloween Kills, more or less dashed those hopes by turning it into a glorified body count film. So many were hoping the finale would at least bring about an exciting and cathartic conclusion to the tale of Michael and Laurie. What did the film get right? Well, as the title suggests, the story does end, and that's about where the positives stop. John Carpenter has made it pretty clear that he doesn't care what happens with the franchise as long as a fat check lands in his hand. But even still, this is such a wet fart of a finale for one of the highest profile horror stories in the last several years. It doesn't feel satisfying or even all that needed, squandering the characters we've known for years and inserting new characters that fail to leave an impact. There's not really anything new to take out of a franchise like this. That ship sailed a long time ago. It's apparent that the only purpose of a movie like this is for money laundering schemes. Jamie Lee Curtis is back for what I can only imagine is the final time, and while it's nice to see her transform into a badass built by trauma, there really isn't anything new to do with the character. The death of her daughter in the previous film and the decades of psychological torture doesn't really seem to affect her all that much. Like, Michael is still at large, and this is the least amount of paranoia we've seen from her in 40 years. I get the film wanted her to try to move on with her life, but it all just feels off. Her relationship with her granddaughter, Allison, doesn't offer any new or interesting aspects to her character either. The film does put more focus on some of the supporting characters like Allison, but they don't add much to the overall story. But the character that everyone wants to see and drives the popularity of the series, Michael Myers, is barely even in the film. He makes such an underwhelming impact in his short time spent on screen that by the time we get to the inevitable final confrontation between him and Laurie, it just falls flat. There's no build-up, there's no tension, and nothing memorable here from the man in the mask. I'll give the film credit, it does try to tie in an interesting swerve to the story. Without spoiling too much, a new character becomes involved with Michael Myers and adds an additional threat to our main characters. A cool concept, just not one I think is as impactful when introduced in the final movie. They try to give it more weight by tying it into a romantic subplot, but it just comes off as forced and flat. Everything moves so fast and the transformation this character undergoes isn't all that believable or compelling, especially since it feels like the film is trying to have this message about how killers can be formed through misunderstandings and social ridicule, but pairing them as a parallel to Michael Myers, an actual mental case, doesn't really give off the message I think they were going for. The 80s aesthetic is still alive and well in Haddonfield, it's just too bad the film takes place in the modern day. Everything and everyone feels really dated here, especially some of these character archetypes. Are we really still doing the bully in the Letterman's jacket, or the smooth-talking jazzy radio host? I don't know, there's something about this film that feels like they wanted it to take place in the 80s, where cell phones weren't really a thing. It affects how people talk and act, which doesn't exactly keep the film from dating itself like they thought it would. I guess they probably saw this year's Texas Chainsaw Massacre and figured it just wasn't worth it.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
To bring everything to a disappointing conclusion, the ending is incredibly flat and weak. It arrives at the expected conclusion, but it just doesn't really feel like the release of pent-up suffering I was expecting. It all ends fairly quickly, proving they probably should have found a way to leave the gnarliest moments of the trilogy until the end, because by the time we get to the conclusion, everyone involved seems as tired and fed up with the film as I was. There you have it, the end to a trilogy that was more of a waste of time than it was a satisfying continuation of a classic. Let's just hope the rest of Hollywood follows the film and just lets the evil die. And by evil, I mean pointless cash grabs. Who am I kidding? I'll see you back here in 5 years for the next one. For my rating, I'm giving this film 1.5 William Shatner masks out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Martini Shot. If you saw Halloween Ends, I would love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments below. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.